everybody. So I am back on my computer and it has already given me a lot of confidence to actually do this live. I feel so much better doing it here than on my phone, smaller screen and so on. So apologies for the late start. So that software that I had installed on my computer really did a number on me. And, to be honest and to be fair, it was my fault for not following through in trying to connect Facebook and YouTube live together. I need to get some more know-how on that. But it's not my strong suit at all. So this will be where it's going to happen for the next hour or so. So please join me here. Please join me here and let me know that you are here. Let me know that you are here. Put your name in the chat. Tell me where you're joining me from. I will wait on you as things start to flow as I would like them to. Thank you so much for joining me, Stacy, personally speaking, here today. And I am looking forward to sharing this information with you. Really looking forward to sharing this information with you. Feel free to put your questions in the chat. I'll be checking the chat and I can do this on my phone. Much easier as well. Okay, so I'm going to be waiting on you guys again because I know through no fault of yours, you were already lined up with the previously scheduled live YouTube session. So let me wait a bit. Let me wait a bit for you all to come back. I am here. I am here. Let me put a welcome in the chat. How you can buy a house in Jamaica from overseas. Okay. Okay, maybe I should also let persons who had registered on Facebook, let them know what's happening. Let them know what's happening. Okay, I'm going to wait for another 3 minutes and I'm going to start at 7:15 just with introducing what I had, the notes that I have. Okay. Just give persons some time to figure out what's been going on. How is everybody doing? It's Friday. It's Friday and it's the weekend. It's the weekend. Today I only had one class. Actually, I had a class online from 5 o'clock to 6:40. So I just had a 20-minute window to, get myself together. And it was like at about 5 minutes before 7, I decided to start the stream and realized there's no video. I can't see myself. And if I can't see myself, I don't know what viewers would be seeing. So today we're talking about how to buy a house in Jamaica from overseas. How to buy a house in Jamaica from overseas. And I put overseas, even though I am in Japan, it is probably going to be quite similar for others in other parts of the world. Once again, welcome. Welcome to Stacy Personally Speaking, where I share my experiences with you so that you can be better informed, make your own decisions, and get some guidance along the way, especially if you are living overseas, especially if you're living in a country whose culture, language, and normal activities are very different from Jamaica. I have been living in Japan for almost 7 years. It's been almost 7 years since I've been living here in Japan. And purchasing a home was one of the things I had planned. It was one of the things I had on my list. So, yeah. And I just realized that my live was actually private. Yeah, this technology thing. So I hope I have fixed it sufficiently so that persons can get to join me. Wow, fascinating and interesting, isn't it? All these things, all these things. Why was it private? I'm not sure, but it seems to have been fixed now. Maybe I have too many things going on my computer screen as well. So let me close out some of those so I don't get myself confused. Okay. I don't want to be repeating myself, but it is 7:15 and as promised, I am going to start. Okay? So my name is Stacy and I would like to start with prayer. Lord, I want to thank you for this day. Thank you for this opportunity, Father, to do this live that I've been preparing for. And clearly, there has been some opposition to it. But Lord, you have seen it fit for me to share this information at this time. And I pray, mighty God, that persons will be blessed from this sharing time and they will learn and be able to share with others as well during this time. I pray, mighty God, that you would direct me, give me the right words to say, help me to do it in a timely fashion, oh God, to the glory and honor of your name, I pray, through Jesus Christ, my Lord. Amen and amen. Okay, so welcome, everyone. Welcome. Thank you for your patience. Thank you for finding the correct live. And let me preface this all by saying, this is my experience. This is my personal experience, which started over a year ago. It started over a year ago, and I'm going to give a little backstory, as it were. So, one of the plans I had for coming to Japan was to buy a home, buy a house before going back to Jamaica. Okay. I wanted to buy a house before going back to Jamaica. And so that was always on my mind. With that said, it meant that I was very conscious of my spending habits. And, I was just very conscious of that. And as we continue, you will get to understand how important or significant a role that frugality played. Okay. Put your questions in the chat. This isn't Zoom, so I can't take your questions live face to face. So if you have questions, please put them in the chat so I can answer specifically to what you may have. Okay. But let me start by saying what happened in 2019 when I went to Jamaica. I had already been looking while I was in Japan, looking at options, housing options. Was it going to be open market? Was it going to be a gated community? Was it going to be in my hometown? Was it going to be somewhere else? So I had a lot of things I was thinking about. And from my experience here in Japan of kind of feeling isolated and, this lack of community and so on, I gave up on the idea of living in my dream parish, which is St. Anne, because I don't really know anybody there, and I thought it'd be best to stick closer to home, which is in St. Catherine, Portmore. So I was just checking every website for developers in Jamaica. So if you know anything about that, you have Gore Developments, you have Wicon, you have Housing Agency of Jamaica, then you have the open market, and then you have all the realtors, all the real estate agents and so on. When I was checking all those websites, all of them had the same houses, the same properties on the open market. Okay, that's what realtors do. It's like who can sell the house the fastest, I guess, kind of thing. But when I went in 2019, my cousin had actually bought a house. I didn't know about it. But it was in this community called Phoenix Park. Now, I had actually heard about Phoenix Park Village since about 2018 because I am signed up with Jamaica National. So, they send out those emails announcing upcoming schemes and so on. But at that time, I had not gotten around to, checking what was needed and so on. I was very busy. And so I hadn't done anything. I had actually contacted Jamaica National and gotten some form that I needed to complete, which I guess that form kind of threw me off, In it was like an expense, income and expenditure form. So that was 2018. In 2019, I decided, after finding out that Gore Development was the one doing this housing development called Phoenix Park, I decided to just go up there, right? I just decided to go up there. And you might be thinking, hey, I thought you did everything from overseas. Well, what I did can easily be done from overseas. And that was just to get my name on the list. That might be one of the most challenging things. What do I mean by that? Well, Phoenix Park Village 1 has 5 phases. My cousin lives in phase 1. When I went to Phoenix Park, when I went to Gore Development, and Gore is the one responsible for building the community. When I went there, of course, Phoenix Park 1 was done, Phoenix Park 2 was done. They were on Phoenix Park 3, and it was already sold out. And the list for Phoenix Park 4 was already oversubscribed. And there was Phoenix Park 5, which was also already oversubscribed. So I needed to get my name on the list. So I just told the person, put me on the list. Put me on the list. And so that's the first thing you're going to have to do. Get your name on a list. How are you going to do that? You have to be very vigilant. You have to be very aggressive. What do I mean by that? Well, all the websites announce upcoming schemes. Even NHT announces upcoming schemes, and they have these online forms that you can fill in. And to tell you the truth, I filled in one also for this new scheme on Helsha Main Road called Shooters Hill or something like that. But I have not heard anything from that. Remember now, this was 2019. Okay, 2019, when I went to Gore and told them to put my name on the list. You can put your name on the list through any of the developers' websites. Okay, now let's fast forward. I came back. So that was the only time I went to Jamaica in 2019. I came back to Japan and I did not hear anything at all. Anything. And I was busy. I was studying for my master's and all of that. And then while that was happening, I found out, I should try to get pre-qualified. So I'm giving you some kind of steps that you probably need to be doing. I got pre-qualified on March 12th, 2021. What is pre-qualification? Basically, you make contact with a bank or NHT. And that's something else I should say. I did not get this house through NHT because, of course, they were not the developers. But I also did not use my NHT benefit to purchase this house, which may or may not be so relevant because almost all mortgage lending companies, banks, have the joint financing program with NHT. Okay, so I went through VMBS. Alternatively, I could have gone through Jamaica National, who were the preferred mortgage companies for Gore Development. So I got pre-qualified in March 2021. Okay, so this means I got in touch with a loans officer from Victoria Mutual Building Society. Okay, you can get in touch with any loans officer from any financial institution that you are connected with, or even if you're not connected with them, it doesn't matter. They told me what to provide for the to be pre-qualified. Okay, I needed to provide job letters, pay slips, 3 months worth of pay slips, and I needed to complete an income expenditure sheet, the same sheet that Jamaica National had sent me from 2018. So, I must also say that I have been freelancing for the past 2.5 years. So it is also possible for you to access, pre-qualification successfully as a freelancer, providing, of course, you're earning a certain amount. So this was also a bit of a stressful source for me, some kind of stress, because I'm always thinking, I need to be earning X amount, I need to be earning X amount, right? So once I had gotten through the pre-qualification, what it told me was that I would qualify for $14 million. I should probably check my folder. If you look here, see, this is my folder of documents that I compiled in order of date. And this is not all the documents, because the sales agreement and all those legal documents, those are in Jamaica. Okay. Let me pause to say welcome again. I am talking about how to purchase a home from Japan or overseas, how to purchase a home in Jamaica. If you have questions, please put them in the chat and I will get to them. Okay, let me continue. So I got my pre-qualification letter, which basically told me how much the bank would be willing to lend me based on my income and expenditure, and proof from my job letters, because I submitted two company job letters at the time, and of course pay slips, 3 months worth of pay slips for each of them. So I was pre-qualified for 14 million Jamaican dollars. So that gives me an idea, and it will give you an idea of what price bracket to look for, what price bracket you are qualified for. So that was very useful to me. And when the houses were put on the market, they actually started at like 9-10 million Jamaican dollars. And by the time they got to phase 5, the houses were starting at 14 million Jamaican dollars. So I was pre-qualified for 14 million Jamaican dollars. And after that, I still hadn't heard anything from Gore Development until July 24th, 2021. So picture with me, in 2019, I wrote my name down on the list for whichever phase, because they were all oversubscribed, right? And I was told that the applications were open. No, this does not guarantee you anything at this stage. So on July 24th, 2021, those whose names were on the list, the application was sent to them. So you must get your name on the list. If your name is not on the list, the application form is not going to come to you. Okay, so that's the first thing, get your name on the list. And I had to provide several is just an understatement of the amount of things I had to provide. But let's start with just the application process. It was online. So they had an online form that you could complete, but there was one page that I needed to print, physically sign, and then re-upload. Okay, that was just one page. I had to provide my TRN, ID, some form of ID, and proof of ability to purchase. This proof of ability to purchase is your pre-qualification letter. You must have it beforehand, okay? The pre-qualification letter and proof to pay 5% deposit. Now, this is just the application being opened. They opened it July 24th, and then it was due, or maybe they opened it earlier. I forgot to write down that. I did write it down. July 3rd is when the applications were sent out. July 3rd. Okay, and I needed to complete the form, TRN ID, proof of ability to purchase, proof to pay 5% deposit. And this was the 5% of the 14 million Jamaican dollars. Right? Now, after July 3rd, that was the email announcing the phase, right? I could not submit the application at the same time. No. What they did was set a specific time and date window for the application to be submitted. And that was July 24th, between 9 a.m. and 11 a.m. Jamaica time. This was 11 p.m. to 1 a.m. Japanese time. So I had to wait until July 24th, 3 weeks later, before I could submit the application. And what this meant was that you had to make sure you wanted to complete all your documents as quickly as possible so you could meet this timeline and window. Remember, only between 9 a.m. and 11 a.m. They were not accepting any applications before that. If your timestamp on your application was any earlier, they would not have accepted or considered it. So, but what we don't know is happening is that at 9 a.m. or 11 p.m. my time, everybody was sending in their applications. And I don't know what or why I waited until 9:01 to send mine, because I was literally right there over the enter button, the submit button. And I waited until 9:01 to submit my application, and it was not received until 9:03, which meant hundreds of others were ahead of me. And what was the significance of this? We're going to find out later on. When it was time for me to choose the lot, everybody took all the lots that had extra irregular shapes and they were bigger. But let's back up. So, submitted my application July 24th with all the necessary documents. On August 10th, 2021, I got an email saying I was successful. My application was successful. My application was successful on August 10th, 2021. Now, this thing about frugal saving, you need to have your money ready. You need to have your money ready. And 5% isn't a lot. 5% isn't a lot at all, right? But the real bulk of the money came much later, and I wasn't completely prepared for that at all. I had to pay $832,000 by September 15th. Remember, you had to show proof of the ability to pay the 5% during the application process anyway, right? So once I was told successful August 10th, successful by September 15th, I had to make that payment. Okay, and it was just a simple money transfer. They provided the account numbers and so on, right? Now, I also had to choose the lot, as I mentioned before, and because I had waited like 1 minute to submit my application, many persons were ahead of me And so I missed out on being able to choose a bigger lot size in the location that ideally I wanted. But notwithstanding, I also had received from them an overseas letter of explanation. So in this, they explained um, how to purchase from overseas and what the implications are for you as a purchaser from overseas versus somebody who is in Jamaica. There are quite a number of differences which I won't get into. But what I will mention is that instead of getting 95 or 97% from VMBS, which is what people living in Jamaica get, I was only given 90% of the loan, right? No, this is much, much later that I found out all of this, which meant that I had to find out of pocket another 10%, right? Another 5%. But let me continue going down. So 2021 things started, okay? And then there was a lot of waiting and emailing, and I wasn't getting any answers and so on until I found out about the letter of explanation, which came actually in June 2022. So that's when I started getting some correspondence again, June 2022, from the developers, from Gore Development. Okay. And then they also sent the package by FedEx. So I'm communicating with them by email back and forth. Am I coming to Jamaica to sign the documents? No, I'm not. Okay, so they're sending it by FedEx. Yes, they sent it by FedEx. And I was instructed to send it back by FedEx. So I had to do that. But what happened? And I remember, please put your questions in the comments section. I don't want to just be talking, even though I can do that. So I got the post by FedEx. There was a timeline. Once the ball has started rolling, timeline is everything. It was intense. I was trying to get things done as quickly as possible because one of the stipulations was that any delay would be at my expense. Any delay would be at my expense, even if it was not my fault. And I'll talk a little bit more about that later on. Right? So I needed 12 signatures notarized. 12. There were probably close to 20 signatures or more, including my signatures and the signatures of others, but I needed 12 signatures to be notarized. And so I made contact with the embassy in Japan. You just confirm what I needed to do. So that was 24,000 yen for those 12 signatures, but definitely way cheaper. I sent it by post, by registered post. I kept in touch with them, kind of expressing the urgency, got them signed, got them back probably within a week, I got them back. And while that was happening, I was getting, I got a Jamaican friend to witness some other signatures, and she was like asking me, did she need to write her name, which was a very legitimate question. She didn't need to write her name at all. Just her signature was sufficient. After I confirmed that with Gore Development. And of course, everybody's asking the developers questions, and so they were taking long to get back to my emails and so on. But when it was time for money, they made it very clear, okay? So escalation had to be paid, right? So of course, since the time of the announcement in 2021, we know COVID was going on and there were shipment delays and so on. But then the war started in 2022. and that made everything skyrocket. And so the escalation came in at an additional $350,000. I had planned to go to Jamaica to collect the house keys, but unfortunately, that $350,000 would have been my plane ticket. And so I decided to use it to pay the escalation instead. And that was paid on July 12th, 2022. Okay. So now money is just flowing. Money is just flowing out. From the beginning of July, it was very intense. It just got really, really intense. And now I also had to be dealing with the bank. That is a nightmare for another time. That was a complete nightmare for another time. That was paperwork, more paperwork, questions, more, and a bag of money. Right? Let me just say that a lot of money needed to be paid. So when I hear persons giving information and they're like, oh, you should save at least 20%. You need at least 20% for your deposit and closing cost, because I was not expecting all I had to pay, right? I paid a lot out of pocket and a lot of it did not go towards the house cost. It went towards a lot of fees, legal fees, bank fees, charges, and all of those things, right? Let me say, remember, I'm still doing all of this from Japan, which also meant the time difference was really, really something to deal with. That's something you have to be prepared to deal with. I was up 11 p.m., midnight, 1 a.m., 2 a.m., 3 a.m. sometimes. So I could be communicating, especially when I wanted information. I had to be calling during the hours, And then the thing is, with the bank, because I needed like some guidance and they didn't really give it to me. So it was a lot of surprises. I was caught off guard a bit, So please, please, please count the cost. Know what you are looking for. House prices in Jamaica continue to escalate. The one on Shooters Hill that I had signed up for, which was the Hellshaw, on the Hellshaw Main Road, is now at 17.2 million. Okay, 17.2 million. There's another one, and these are in St. Catherine, right, which is where I was living before. There's another one near Ascot, if you know Ascot High School, that area there. 22 million Jamaican dollars. So I encourage you, if that is one of your priorities, to get a house, try to get on a list. No, try to find an area that you want to live in and try to get on a list. No. Okay. So I remember at one point I almost did not get the house. The developers were waiting. The deadline had passed because the bank needed to provide a letter of undertaking and a letter of commitment to the developers to finance the loan, and they were late. So, advice: we are sending things from Japan. As much as possible, try to get it in English or try to translate it and send a translated copy with it. Because they told me that was one of the issues for the delay. I'll just leave that right there and just take what they said there. So you don't want any delays. You don't want any delays because the developer, remember, the list is oversubscribed. So the developers have a whole heap of people that waiting, right? A whole heap of people that are waiting to get one of these houses, right? And so basically, that's what the developers told me, that it doesn't look very promising for you, because I, remember, I already paid them my deposit and all that, but they are ready to give it back to you less 25%. No, less 25,000 Jamaican dollars for processing fees. Okay. So what else should I talk about at this time? Well, you have the option of having the sales agreement signed through a power of attorney. So you don't have to let them send it to Japan and then send it back. I didn't write down how much I paid, but I think I paid 18,000 yen to FedEx to send it back. About that, to send it back. So you can actually use a power of attorney to deal with it in Jamaica. I would also suggest, my name is the only name on the title. Okay, so nobody else could act on my behalf unless I gave authorization for that. If it's possible, get somebody else on, co-sign with somebody or something so they can deal with it from Jamaica, and all you probably need to do is sign, just to make it a little bit easier if you want to go that route. Okay. Credit report. I also had to provide a credit report during the pre-qualification process and during the loan request process, the application for the loan. I had to provide credit reports, and I used JIIC here in Japan. They didn't provide any information really, but you can also check CIC, which is another credit bureau here in Japan. Those are the two that I know about. They also did a local credit check in Jamaica, even though I am not there and I don't have nothing, no business going on there. Okay. Now, it's very useful for you to keep your documents in order, because the whole heap of paperwork can become overwhelming pretty quickly. Still no questions in the chat. It seems I am answering all of your questions, which is fantastic. So I am going to jump over a bit. Okay, I have a section here called advice. So let me give you some advice. Save at least 20%. Okay, get pre-approved. Remember, I told you about that pre-approval. You are going to need that letter early in the game. You're going to need that letter. Now, what I hadn't done because I was really stressed and I couldn't bother before when? Not sure before when, but before all the craziness is happening, shop around for mortgages. Mortgages are one of the longest commitments that we will tie ourselves to. My interest rate, I guess I can share, my interest rate is 8.5%. And my loan amount from the bank is 90%. Not through NHT. NHT has a lower interest amount. Not sure how much, but they also have only a lower loan amount. So chances are, if you were trying to get one of these houses in the gated communities, you would have to borrow some from the bank or link up with 2 or 3 people together through NHT, right? So this puts my mortgage at 100,070 Jamaican dollars per month, right? And the thing is, this 8.5% interest rate is not fixed, meaning it can go up at any time, because I never hear them going down yet, right? So it can go up at any time. So save. And thank God I had been saving, because in one night, and I won't go through the drama of what I had to do to transfer $1.4 million in the space of a few minutes. I had to do that because the bank was not going to be lending me 95%. They were only lending me 90%, which meant I had to find the other 5% in rapid succession. The bank has a lot of fees. Let me jump to the money section. The price of the house total, including escalation, was 14.35 million Jamaican dollars. Out of pocket, I paid $2.6 million in the space of a very short time, right? Very short time. The amount that went to the house is $1.4 million that went to the house out of 2.6. So you know that the next $1.2 million just went to fees alone. Fees, including 2 months mortgage that had to be locked away in some secret account by the bank. So the bank is holding that. Okay. The fees to the developers was much less, just 132,000, and I actually was refunded 50,000, which was estimated for interest. Them love estimate, it's pure estimate, them estimate, right? So the estimated interest came back to me because the deadline was met eventually by the bank. The deadline was met by the bank. And so I was able to get back that $50,000. But I had to call. I called the lawyers' offices. I called the banks, some credit, something, just to push for this to happen. You have to stay on top of it. It might mean some sleepless nights, right? But you have to do it from here, and it is possible. You just have to make the sacrifice and know that it is for a time. Man, it was a crazy long time. So please, if you have any questions, put them in the chat. Put them in the chat. Let me know. Have you ever bought a house from overseas? What was it like? Share your experience with us in the chat. Let me know. Okay, let me know. So I was saying that you should shop around for a mortgage because it is one of the largest investments anyone ever in their lifetimes will make. So shopping around for mortgages, it would be useful if you just use a broker. The broker is going to need a pre-qualification letter, and yeah, pretty much that. And the broker will be able to shop around to the banks. I'm sure there's a broker fee, but I didn't use a broker, so I don't know what the fee is like. Okay. If you want to get a house in a development, these days everybody's making gated communities in Jamaica. In Jamaica, that is what is happening now. Personally, I didn't want a gated community house because of the restrictions, and of course, I also have maintenance fee to pay of $2,500. On that note, I must mention, if you have a life insurance policy, the house needs coverage. The house needs coverage, and your insurance policy must be equal to or more than the value of the house. Since my life insurance policy was less, my life insurance policy is 11.5 million Jamaican dollars, and the house was 14.35 million, I could not use my life insurance policy. I'm saying all of this to say, it kind of helps you to think about some things, because I had contacted my life insurance agent to find out if I could raise the life insurance. But there was so much uncertainty, not getting the information from the bank and so on. Not only that, my agent, when she finally did respond to me, said that I would have had to be there in person in Jamaica to do some blood tests and AIDS, HIV test before they would review my current policies. So that is something you can think about. So right now, I have my life insurance policy, and I have another policy which they put as the GMPI group something, like a pooled fund. So I had to get another insurance policy to cover the value of the house, and of course, fire insurance and all of that. Now, one of the things about being here in Japan, or if you're living overseas, is that you are not able to see on the ground right away, the construction process, meaning you don't see when they're clearing the land. So you need eyes and ears on the ground for you where possible. where possible. And interestingly enough, this is not something, this is not only something that happens in Jamaica. I have a Japanese friend here, and she recently bought a house that is in a community where her mother-in-law is. So the mother-in-law like saw the development happening and was able to go and talk with them and kind of like secure a spot, as it were. And that's how she was able to get the house. So the sooner you are able to find out about the developments going up, the better it is for you to, submit your interest early. As I said, from 2000 and I thought, was it 2020? Probably 2000, when the Shooters Hill came out. I think my brother actually mentioned it to me. I submitted my interest online and I don't hear anything or no. And that's probably a year or 2 years ago, right? So you want to stay on top of it. If you can call the developers, call them, find out what's happening, check NHT website. They will announce things, but they don't give any specific date. So you have to be proactive and stay on top of those things, especially if you want a new house. That was always my desire, to have a new house. But if you want to go open market, you have more flexibility and more negotiating capabilities and so on. All right, so you need to decide that. What else can I talk about? Talked about that. Okay. Oh, so when I was, the thing when you have many different variables is that you have to depend on other people to get things in. So for example, my job letter, one of my jobs, my main job in particular, took very long, very, very long to submit the job letter, and I was like, I even sent them a copy because for the pre-qualification letter, I needed a job letter as well, right? I sent them a copy of that and said, I need one of the exact same letters. Just change the date. And them take forever. Mercy, them take long. Okay. And as I said, try to get the documents in English as much as possible, so it does not delay things. It does not delay things. Okay. I have shared everything that is on my paper here with all my notes. Everything. It's a lot of notes, a lot of documents that I had to go through, like really, really thick. And then when I got the documents through FedEx, they were in triplicate. I signed until it became difficult for me to sign my signature, and I actually made a mistake. But I didn't try to fix it or anything, and it wasn't any problem. But man, it was a lot. So you have seen, if you haven't seen the video of the house, you can check it out. Feel free to check it out. It is a 813 square foot house on a 4,000 square foot lot. 4,000 square feet is actually the standard size. And it is pretty big, even though I wanted a bigger lot. But guess what? If me did forget a bigger lot, but I have to pay more money. And people, me not have no more money right now. So I am still in Japan. I have not gone to Jamaica to see the house in person. My friend actually collected the key on my behalf. My friend and my mom went together to collect the keys on my behalf. And then a week after that, my brother, was able to go and do a video for me, which allowed me to take like a real kind of tour. To be honest, it hasn't really hit me that, you bought a house, that was one of your goals and you did it, because I still haven't seen it yet, So, yeah, I think that's as much as I can share how to buy a house in Jamaica from overseas. And just to recap, one, make sure you have money. Once things start, once you are approved, you're going to need money to be just flowing. Oh, on that note, try to maintain some local bank accounts. Okay? try to maintain some local presence. So of course I have my JMB account, and of course I have a VMBS account, even though I never really do not with the VMS account, just now they became useful to get the mortgage through, right? Try to maintain a local presence, try to keep some active accounts, because I didn't have to try and send money from here to the developers directly on a monthly basis when possible. I send no my little money, I put it in the kitty in Jamaica, right? So I had the money there. Be careful if you decide to put your money on like a long term or a kind of fixed investment instrument. So like, remember I had to pay $1.4 million in one night, like literally. And I had the $1 million in a fixed thing that roll over every 3 months. It did 3 month rollover, and the second one was 1.5 months in. I needed the money now, and I couldn't get it. I couldn't get it. I actually had to call the person in charge, and they said because it was so much money, they had to video call me. Them couldn't do the email. They had to verify me in the flesh. But thanks be to God, all of this was possible online. Make sure say on a day with good bank, where up to the time with the technology and all of that. I don't see where this would have been possible with NCB. And I have an NCB account, but they have made my life miserable. And I'm not knocking them. Maybe you have better experience with NCB. But JMMB is my bank, my place, and they facilitated. When I told him, no, I don't have tomorrow, he was like, oh, it seems that the connection is not working. Let me call you after the weekend. I said, no, I don't have that. And they stayed. And the Zoom wasn't working, so them just WhatsApp me, them do WhatsApp video, right? So things are possible from overseas. Things are very, very possible from overseas. Just make sure to kind of keep a good relationship with these institutions that we might need to be rallying on in the future. So to recap, I said that already, don't make me recap again. Recap. Get pre-approved. All right. Keep saving before, during, after. Keep saving at least 20%. In your mind, what kind of house you want? How much money you're prepared to spend? What's going on in the market? No, as I said, in the market, no house price, no normal. Houses in Jamaica just keep I don't know. The housing market in Jamaica is like nowhere else, right? So keep in mind how much you are prepared to spend, and that would kind of help to guide you, as well as get pre-qualified. That will tell you how much the banks are willing to lend you if you do find something, how much they are willing to lend you. Okay, so get pre-qualified, keep saving. Shop around for the mortgages. I wish I had done that, but to be honest, I did some virtual shopping around, and almost everybody kind of between 7.5 to 8.5%. But you know that 1% makes a big difference when you're talking about something like a mortgage, right? Even though if you're going through NHT, the portion that NHT lends you would be at probably the 4 or 5%, but the next amount, the amount that you have to make up, would be at the bank's percent. So try and shop around for the best mortgage possible. If it is too tie hen for you, or if it's too mendoxai, try and get a broker to do it. But of course, you have to be prepared to pay the broker for that. Okay, where possible, put somebody else's name on the title who is in Jamaica to make the process a little bit easier for you. When you're done, always it's gonna cost you money if you take off them name, but you don't even have to do that immediately, right? but it would certainly help. It would certainly help you if you had somebody else's name on it. Keep your eyes and ears open. Contact the developers, Wicon, NHT, Housing Agency of Jamaica, Gore Developments. Those are all in the Kingston area. I don't know about anymore, probably in the other parishes. Okay, I don't know about anymore. So, yeah, I think I have covered everything. There have not been any questions. So I think I'm just going to sign off at this time. I'm going to sign off at this time. Yeah. I'll be signing off. So thank you all for joining me. Thank you for your patience, especially with the technical difficulties. Man, I was so eager to, really start on time, but I think we did good on time. I'm actually pretty surprised that nobody has any questions for me. Hello, I'm not trying to full up my inbox and my email with questions now. Okay, I wanted us to share the questions so that everybody would be able to benefit. Right? That's what I wanted. But it was my absolute pleasure, as always, to share what I learned with you guys. And oh, I should mention, I could not collect the house keys until I had paid for NWC. I had to connect. I had to show proof that NWC was connected before I could get the house keys. Right? But the developers were very kind in facilitating this because they have a person that works with them to make this happen. Okay, so my friend was able to collect the house keys, do the inspection, and sign off, and so on. Anything else that I'm telling you now has no bearing, on how to buy a house in Jamaica. Anything else I'm telling you now is just what has happened since the keys were collected. So the keys have been collected, and this just happened. I should actually have the date of when that happened. So it just happened, it just happened. Just happened. So on a fresh with what's going on. Just collected the keys, and the inspection revealed some defects. And I just had those defects sorted out. Today is Friday our time. It happened Thursday Jamaica time. My friend went back, so all those videos, that my brother took and kind of tell him check this, check that, and we found some problems and we were able to send them to the developers because this is a period where the defects are still their responsibility for 6 months. And so that was taken care of just yesterday. And I'm very happy that I don't have anything else to deal with the developers. Pretty much, yeah. So all I need to do now is to go back to Jamaica and move into my house. Yeah. So that's it for now. If you don't have any questions, I want to thank you for staying with me for this long. I really enjoyed sharing with you. And if you do have any questions which you did not want to share here on the live, feel free to send me an email. Thank you so much, Afro Teacher. I appreciate that. I appreciate you letting me know. I would have really wanted to know who had joined me here online as well, but I appreciate you all for taking the time to join me here on a Friday night, and I feel so fine. All right, so now let's go and enjoy dinner and all those wonderful things. Bye for now from Stacy, personally speaking. Thank you.